You're watching the New Stack Makers, a podcast for people who develop, deploy, and manage at-scale software. For more information and articles about at-scale technologies, please visit thenewstack.io. Now enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another on-the-road episode of the New Stack Makers. I'm your host, Heather Joslin, Editor-in-Chief of the New Stack, and today we're coming to you from the floor of KubeCon plus CloudNativeCon North America in beautiful Salt Lake City, Utah. And today we've got a topic close to the hearts of a lot of you who are watching this and listening to this, the job market for developers and what's ahead for it. The developer workforce is growing all the time. There's some estimates say 26 million people worldwide. Some say more than that. And it's, according to Evans Global Corporation figures, that number has increased 20% over the last 5 years or so. But the dev workforce is, for lack of a better word, a bit lumpy. Some countries and regions have lots of developers, others not so much. And there have been obviously the massive layoffs at a lot of tech companies. There are a lot of world-class developers and engineers who are on the job market right now. And believe me, I've met a lot of them at KubeCon and other events this year. So but at the same time, there's a lot of jobs that sit empty because of a mismatch of the workforce skills and the things that are needed. So, and as we all know, AI is poised to disrupt things a lot sooner than we think. In this episode, we're going to talk to a couple of folks who can tell us what they've been seeing in the dev workforce and the trends that are potentially emerging in 2025. And we're going to also talk about a new partnership that aims to build developer talent in Africa. We'll be joined by Ross O'Neill, Senior Manager of Learning at Andela. Mm-hmm. Welcome, Ross.
Thank you for having me. A pleasure.
Can you tell us just a little bit about what Andela does?
Yeah, so Andela is the largest private marketplace for tech talent. Mm-hmm. We are across 135 countries. Mm-hmm. We were born and founded in Nigeria. And around 60% of our talent that we match with companies and clients of ours is primarily based from Africa.
Oh,
yeah. So if you are listening to this and you're an engineering manager or a CTO and you're hoping to ramp up talent, no matter where it is, completely borderless, Andela is a perfect partner to find that talent with the right skills, no matter where they are in the world.
Terrific. We're also joined by Chris Aniszczyk from CNCF, and I think a lot of people know you, Chris. But can you remind them what you do at? Yeah, we all know what the CNCF does, but
yeah, no worries. I'm a co-founder and CTO of the organization, so I kind of oversee a lot of our technical direction and strategy, and making sure that our projects are healthy and sustainable.
Excellent. All right, let's get started, because this is obviously something we care a lot about. We know that, let's talk a little bit about, where the areas of tech talent are, in which areas tech talent is not so plentiful right now. Like, what are you seeing overall the landscape? Where do we have lots of talent? Where do we have not so much talent?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, I don't think it's a matter of scarcity in particular skills. So what we find is, and that reasons why lots of companies come to Andela specifically, is that they're all accessing the same talent in the same talent pools. One of the reasons why they come to Andela is that they can access talent no matter where it is, and access the right skill based on their requirements and demand. Mm-hmm. So for example, if you are an engineering manager and you're creating a role, and the prerequisite of that is somewhere nearby you in terms of where your office is, then your talent pool is a lot more constrained. Mm-hmm. While at Andela, it's what we do is we match according to that skill and find you the right talent based on your needs and requirements, no matter where they are in the world. So I think that's kind of where scarcity might be experienced for lots of companies, is because they're finding that experience where the traditional element of recruitment is based locally rather than based on skill, in a borderless environment. Because the tech workforce is global, and we know that since the pandemic that we can, that tech talent can provide the right skills and the right, can deliver effectively.
Yeah. And I just want to get into some of the news at KubeCon about the program to train developers in Africa. Can you, Chris, maybe you want to start with that about what?
Yeah, from a CNCF perspective, we're one of the largest open source organizations out there in terms of community. And a lot of our members out there have a demand for cloud native talent. Like if, we're here at KubeCon, and if you walk over to the job board that we have, there's tons of jobs posting, people dying to hire cloud native talent. And, we've done a decent job as an organization kind of trying to expand our training and certification programs to, certain regions, right? Obviously the organization started in North America, we expanded to Europe, we started to do events in China, now in India. And, I'm very excited that, we're partnering with Andela to kind of expand, training and certification to the market in, Africa. So that's kind of what we're announcing here at KubeCon, is an expanded, partnership with Andela to kind of bring cloud native talent and skills, especially around Kubernetes, to engineers and developers that are burgeoning in Africa. I've had a couple fun times visiting the region. There's an incredible amount of enthusiastic talent there. And I feel like if you kind of look, at our data when we're crunching numbers of amount of people that were certified and trained on Kubernetes, the African region was by far, on the lowest on the list. And we're like, what's going on? How can we fix this? CNCF is a global organization. In order for cloud native to be global and ubiquitous, we have to be everywhere. So I'm very, very excited they were able to partner with Andela and expand this. And hopefully Ross can speak a little bit about.
We're super excited. This is building off a long legacy of us investing in talent in Africa. So as I mentioned, we were founded in Nigeria. We're around 10 years old, and every subsequent year since our founding, we've invested in learning and upskilling opportunities for talent in Africa. We've worked with lots of different organizations from Google, AWS, Nvidia, Salesforce, across many different technologies. And this is just a build on from that legacy. And it's one of our largest programs from day one. So we're really, really excited. In terms of what Chris mentioned, like that keyword you mentioned about brilliant, like there's some brilliant talent there. Andela's mission is to connect brilliance with opportunity. And that's what we're doing here in terms of like some insights in relation to Kubernetes. So we're going to train around 20,000 to 30,000 talent specifically in Africa over the next number of years, in KCNA and CKAD. And in relation to Andela, which we connect talent with jobs, with companies, 90% of the roles that get created by our companies request Kubernetes. And so it's not just like, coming out of nowhere. It's an in-demand skill. We want to, equip our talent to succeed. And it's also to grow the community. So we're very, very excited.
Turning back to countries like the US that, by contrast, have a lot of people, with these skills. That we know that there are a lot of developers and engineers on the market these days. And yet we also hear constantly that organizations struggle to find talent. What do you see as the reason for this? What are some of the reasons for this mismatch where, people are looking for work in this field, they're looking for work, but there's also these jobs that go empty?
Yeah, I'm very biased because I am so deep into cloud native land. And, obviously the rise and adoption of cloud usage all over the world has kind of caused a need for companies to find engineers that understand, cloud skills. And I feel there's just still a shortage of those folks out there. Like, we get pinged all the time at the organization for companies wanting like, hey, we need more Kubernetes engineers, or we need folks that understand modern observability systems. And I just think that, I don't know if it's universities not having a mismatch of what they're training and teaching to what actually the industry needs. But, that's my like kind of pet theory that, university may be too theoretical, not like, hey, teach students how to do open source, how to use cloud native projects and infrastructure to kind of prepare them for the workforce would be something that I would kind of like to see more. But I do think there's probably a mismatch between what universities are teaching students and what, employers are looking for. But if you kind of look at it, CNCF, is only 9 years old, and it's been a astronomical shift the last decade of what companies needed 10 years ago to what they need, today. And we're trying our hardest to, train and, upskill folks as much as possible. And, technology shifts, with AI becoming a big boom, there's a lot of focus on learning AI skills so you can be relevant, at your job too. This is the nature. It's the nature of technology. Things shift fast, move, and you have to kind of learn new skills. I have a lot of friends that were old school, let's call it Windows sysadmins. Yeah. They're now trying to learn bit Linux, a little bit of Kubernetes. And if you don't kind of learn those new skills that are in demand, it's going to be hard for you to find, jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Finding those learning opportunities, upskilling opportunities to bridge that skills gap and to meet that demand is like the focus of this partnership.
Yeah.
We know that there's going to be that demand, and that's the way, to ensure that we can help as many people succeed. And actually, one thing I didn't actually mention, which is very, very apt to say, is that for the talent that are going to be connected through this partnership and join this program, it's completely free. So that's the idea, is that we're upskilling. It's a strategic partnership.
Absolutely.
That's a win-win for everyone. Companies need these skills. Andela wants to match them accordingly, and talent want to be upskilled. And particularly in Africa, they're very, very hungry to learn. So it should be fruitful.
Yeah.
And truly, we hope this is the beginning of kind of a partnership because, obviously Kubernetes is in demand, but we have other kind of areas like observability, security, and, that are being asked for by our member companies. So hopefully, you'll see expanded partnership opportunities. But we're really excited to kind of get this going, see how it goes, and hopefully, grow this.
Yeah, at Andela, we have like around 150,000 technologists, as I mentioned, across 135 countries. One of the best things about this partnership is that it's not just about growing our learning community that we have, but joining this wonderful community as well. So we're hoping that we'll be back here in 5 years' time, and you're like, I'm seeing like an exponential growth in, people coming to KubeCon, Cube Days, meetups. So very excited.
Excellent. And you mentioned security. I mean, and when we were talking earlier about, university programs not always teaching, security we often hear is one that doesn't get
for sure. Yeah, exactly. That's
attention.
Something you learn on the job, basically. That very, very. I know maybe like 2 universities that I can recommend that have like very, very solid security programs. But other than that, it's just just not a thing that most students learn. And unless you're exposed to open source, another thing I kind of recommend learners and folks getting experience and kind of learning new skills is open source is available to anyone. There's a lot of great open source communities like CNCF that you go actually contribute, learn skills just through the act of, contribution. And we have some great folks actually that I met. We had a Kubernetes kind of community day and an open source summit out in Lagos, Nigeria that I went to a couple of years ago. And I met an amazing, enthusiastic set of folks that they literally learn by contributing to open source, which benefits the projects and also selfishly benefits themselves because they're learning by actually contributing. So I hope through this partnership, we're able to kind of encourage more of that, like get your hands dirty, learn an open source project, contribute back upstream, and kind of truly become part of the community. It really helps folks.
And we like to foster peer-to-peer learning. Like that's the best thing about joining a community is like, that remote water cool moments that happen on a Discord or Slack. And then it's like all of a sudden, we never met each other and we're building this thing together. And now we're here,
And not just the learning, the connection, not just to learn, but potentially to
connectivity. Network. Connecting people.
Yeah, it totally works. When I was out there, I was like, you have to network. Like, it's not only like contributing and learning. If you're not like, I have a saying, like, if you're not networking, you're not working, right? So outside of just like coding and contributing, go meet people, talk to people. That's how you kind of get opportunities.
What would you say? We've talked a little bit about AI. We talked about Kubernetes. We talked about a couple other things. What are some of the skills that you think? Let's say I'm a developer, I'm on the job market. What are some or an operations engineer on the job market? What are some things that you would say right now this person needs to be upskilling in?
So it's funny is I come across people that are so enthusiastic about learning Kubernetes and they dive in heads first and they don't actually have the fundamental like Linux or even operating skills. So I always tell people, get a solid grasp of how Linux and operating systems work and networking, because at the end of the day, Kubernetes is all about distributed computing, connecting a bunch of computers together, things fail, things get rerouted. If you don't have fundamentals down of like how Linux and networking works, it's going to be significantly harder to learn those skills. So I was like, start with the basics, learn Linux, play with it, learn how to contribute. That foundation makes it significantly easier to learn, Kubernetes and distributed computing skills, in my opinion. I love that people are enthusiastic, but learn the basics first.
Yeah.
I'm a bit biased. Like, as I mentioned, Kubernetes would be high up there.
Yep.
Yeah.
But we'll also see it in other cloud native technologies like AWS, Azure. We also see great demand in different certifications by different accredited industry providers. We've done great work with Nvidia in their deep learning. We saw great demand by talent, more on the talent side in relation to, AI and ML, building on large language models. Then on the flip side, we've also seen a lot of demand in DevOps. And I'd also nearly go as far to say in front end as well in relation to React, JavaScript. Yeah.
Yeah. And another theme that I forgot to mention at this event is, there's kind of this new area of kind of, companies are forming essentially what is called platform engineering teams, right?
Yeah.
And I don't want to say like platform engineering is a new DevOps, but essentially a lot of organizations have evolved DevOps teams into platform engineering teams encompassing more. So at KubeCon here, you're seeing a lot of companies and organizations that are, promoting platform engineering tools. And at CNCF, we're actually starting and launching, a platform engineering certification and training program to kind of fill that gap, because people are always like, we need to hire platform engineering teams. Like, great, part of that is Kubernetes skills, but there's a lot of other things that you have to kind of learn.
Yeah.
Things about like, IDPs like Backstage, or, how to use modern observability tools. So it's more of an encompassing thing that you kind of have to, a holistic set of skills that you have to kind of learn. So platform engineering definitely seeing a trend that we're seeing here at this event.
And one of the areas that like we work with in terms of Andela, like we do a lot of matching with our companies, and it's not just hard skills as well. There's a lot of soft skills, professional skills.
Yeah.
I think they tend to get overlooked as well. Like, you have great technical adeptitude, but like, in terms of communication skills, leadership skills, proactivity is a big one. Like, you're able to solve this problem,
Absolutely.
but like in relation to, are you coming to me with problems you have found, So there's elements of that too that I would say, if you want to be a successful developer engineer, that's an area that can tend to get overlooked.
It's basically like communication skills. Are you a good communicator, a good presenter? One of the things I love about open source events like this is you'll meet people and they're new to the community and they're contributing. And part of contributing is sometimes speaking about what you contribute and being able to present on a topic, and contribution improves your communication skills and presenting it. And that it makes you better prepared to work in a modern workforce environment. If you have strong communication and presentation skills on top of technical skills, that is truly something all companies out there love to have.
And one of the like at Andela, we have this Andela learning community, and it fosters like communication between developers all over the world. But coming to events like this and within the, as we call it, the ALC as an acronym, but the Andela learning community, they'll say, one of the best things that I like joining these communities and coming to these events is meeting like-minded people. I said, that's a great one, but I also like coming and meeting different-minded people because then you're, critiquing each other, you're learning from each other. All of a sudden you come back with a kind of a different perspective on something, that you didn't have before.
To challenge your ideas.
Totally.
Exactly. So, one last question. Based on the conversations you've been having and things you've been seeing, what do you see? What do you think is going to happen in the next year in terms of what companies are going to be looking for? What things are going to be overall in the developer job market?
I'll do this very simply. Like big soul hole to feel with just Kubernetes talent in general. But if you look at overarching themes, not just like a project specific talent, engineers that have security skills. There's been a lot of crazy security incidents that happen in the open source, not even open source community, but in general, right? We had Heartbleed. There was a crazy XE backdoor. There's the old SolarWinds. A lot of companies are investing heavily in hiring security talent. So security is a broad thing. Having security skills, very, very important. And then back to my previous point, platform engineering. There's a lot of companies now building platform engineering teams because, if you think about platform engineering, it's really about like optimizing and building tools to make developers more efficient so you could ship faster and innovate faster. all companies to remain competitive need to be able to ship faster and iterate faster. And platform engineering is a big enabler of that. So Kubernetes security, platform engineering is kind of what I see.
I think it's kind of stole my answer, but I think, it's
That's not
particularly
nice,
on
Chris.
platform engineering, but I think more macro level, I would say in industry terms, we've seen a tale of two job markets. Like, yes, there's some scarcity going on, but there's high demand. And as we said, there's a board down there with we're hiring, So I think there's just overall strong demand in cloud native technologies specifically. Yeah.
Okay. And I guess that's a good place to wrap up. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, both of you.
Great to be here.
Thank you for joining us.
Pleasure.
And we'd like to thank all of you for joining us. I'm still Heather Joslin for the New Stack Makers, and we'll see you next time.
If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, you can always subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're on all the major social media platforms. You can always find us at thenewstack.io. We hope to see you soon.